Ooh, Bad Larry.
What's up, Bad Larry Kingdom? This is your host, Bad Larry, and today we're checking out The Amazing Spider-Man number 4, released in September 1963. And this is the first appearance of one of Spider-Man's most fiercest adversaries, the Sandman, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. Let's check it out. In this 4th issue, Spider-Man has already fought the Fantastic Four, kinda, the Chameleon, the Vulture, Dr. Octopus, and now he's going up against the Sandman. How can he defeat a foe that can't be injured? This story starts out with Spider-Man checking out an ad from J. Jonah Jameson. He's still got it out for Spider-Man. He's got a new series hating on Spider-Man. Spider-Man says these fools will never learn. Then he sees some thugs casing out a jewelry store. He's like, I'm going to wrap them up before they even get in there. Well, he should have waited until they actually commit the crime. These 3 thugs are calling for the cops, saying Spider-Man assaulted them. They're saying, please, please, come help. I'm going to sue Spider-Man. And they start mocking him for being a person in this silly getup rolling around at nighttime. So Spider-Man's not off to a great start. Spider-Man realizes he has to bounce. He doesn't want to tangle with this cop, but at least he says that he stopped these 3 thugs from robbing the jewelry store. He knows that they were going to rob him, but they're just laughing at him right now. He's blaming J. Jonah Jameson for turning the city against him and everyone mocking him. So he decides he's going to go visit J. Jonah Jameson himself, but as Spider-Man. As he goes and climbs in the window, no one's there, but then he hears some sirens, some police cars. He goes, what's going on over here? And he sees some fool climbing a ladder to the top of a building. He says, well, since I'm here, let me do a little investigation. Spider-Man shines his little Spider-Man beacon to try to get the villain off guard and starts to attack him and says, hey, I think I heard of you. Aren't you the Sandman? You're kind of famous around these parts. You're wanted by the police from Maine to Mexico. I'm about to take you in, buddy. Sandman says, forget it. I got some banks to rob. I don't work overtime. You better bug out. Spider-Man says, get over here. Give me a big old hug. And Sandman slips right through Spider-Man's fingers and says, nice try, sucker. And Spider-Man tries to punch him. His hand goes right through him. He says, you're not made of flesh and bone. How am I gonna get you? And he says, well, I can make my body hard as steel if I want. Spider-Man gives him another punch in his jaws like iron. How is Spider-Man gonna defeat this foe? The Sandman gives Spider-Man the old belly punch, using his actual belly to punch Spider-Man. He can obviously move his body easily like Mr. Fantastic, stretchy and bendy. But unlike the rubbery Mr. Fantastic, he's obviously made of sand. Spider-Man falls and rips his mask. He's too afraid to let anybody see his secret identity. He says that even if he wraps up the Sandman will just tell the cops who Peter Parker is. Then it'll be all over the news. Aunt May will be homeless. So he decides he's just going to run away. His mask, his secret identity is too important. He can't let anybody know who he is. He just lets the Sandman do whatever crime he's about to do. Sandman jumps off the building, turns into dust, and is able to land easy peasy right back onto the ground. The Sandman is a real tricky Ricky. He's at the bank. He uses his finger as an exact match for the key. He's able to turn the key, get into the bank, slither under the gate, and now he's at the main bank vault. Meanwhile, back at Peter Parker's home, the greatest foe to Spider-Man right now is a needle and thread. Remember, Peter Parker's only a teenager. He doesn't know how to sew. He can't go to the costume store and get a Spider-Man's mask. So he's got to try and sew his mask together all by himself. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is watching the TV, and the TV reporter says that the Sandman is loose in the city and gives a brief backstory to the public watching the television, including Peter Parker. So the newsman says, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Sandman's background, Channel 17 presents this brief summary. A few months ago, he was an inmate at Island Prison known as Flint Marco. He was the most incorrigible prisoner at the maximum security jail. Then one night he escaped through an unguarded drainage tunnel. Vowing never to be captured alive, he headed to the FBI list of most wanted criminals as he managed to remain one step ahead of the pursuing lawmen. But as the police Dragnet drew ever tighter. He hid in the one place where no one would imagine a man would ever hide, an atomic devices testing center. Realizing it was the only place where he could have a measure of safety, he remained on the lonely, forbidden area beach until that fateful day that a nuclear test explosion caught him unawares. It's always a nuclear explosion or gamma radiation with these people, right? But some incredible accident, the molecules of his body merged at the radioactive instant with the molecules of the sand under his feet, and his body took on the qualities of the sand itself, becoming virtually indestructible. Peter Parker can hear that Aunt May is about to bust into his bedroom. He throws on a robe real quick. He can't let her see that he's Spider-Man, so he pretends to be ill. She's like, I'm gonna go get some chicken soup, alright? Get in bed, honey. He's like, alright, Aunt May. He checks the news again, and the Sandman has successfully robbed the bank with a big bag of money, and now he has to pretend that he's sick, sitting in bed with Aunt May, hide his secret identity. Meanwhile, the cops are still chasing the Sandman. They're shooting at him. That's not gonna stop him. And then he literally drops the bag of money, turns to sand, hides the bag of money as this pile of sand, and the cops run right by him. Aunt May checks Spider-Man's vitals. She said, he's fine. You're fine. Why don't you get to school, buckaroo? Meanwhile, at the publishing offices of J. Jonah Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson thinks that the Sandman and Spider-Man are colluding together. As J. Jonah Jameson takes his seat in his office, he realizes he's been pranked by Spider-Man. He's glued his pants to the chair. And now Spider-Man is at J. Jonah Jameson's office to talk business, and he's sitting there talking to J. Jonah Jameson with no pants on. Peter Parker asks J. Jonah Jameson for advance in terms of getting some money for his pictures of Spider-Man, and J. Jonah Jameson lets him have it. He's like, why am I going to pay for pictures I don't even have yet? Go get me some pictures and then I'll pay you. And Peter Parker's like, fine. So he's got to head to school. He's thinking about how he's going to fight the Sandman after school. And this little blonde-headed girl is thinking she's going to go on a date with Peter Parker. He's asked her out so many times. Peter Parker can't think about that right now. The little blonde-haired girl's name is Liz, and she says, Peter, what time are you going to pick me up tonight? And Peter's like, Liz, I can't pick you up. I got to study. I got stuff to do. I got to study. And Liz is like, yeah, right, Peter. You're the smartest kid in school. You don't have to study. You're the top of the class. You're just blowing me off. And Peter Parker's like, he doesn't know what to do. He wants to go on the date with Liz. He's in high school. He wants to be cool, but he's got the Sandman to think about. The teacher's telling him to stop daydreaming. Meanwhile, the Sandman is still running from the cops, and even though he can easily escape their grasp, the cops are everywhere. He's getting exhausted. He's turning into the worm, the little slithery worm, to get out of him. He's like, I gotta take a break. Oh, there's a school over there. I'm gonna go hide in that school. Of course, it's Peter Parker's school. The Sandman busts in a door and doesn't realize that it's full of students and the principal. And he's like, hey, I could do whatever I want. I didn't graduate high school. I can get whatever I want with force. So, hey, white hair, why don't you write me a diploma right now or I'm gonna kick your ass. And the principal's like, no, you must earn a diploma. I will never write you a diploma, Sandman, you villain. Spider-Man, Peter Parker, has overheard the commotion. He comes out of nowhere and gives Sandman a sock to the face. Spider-Man and the Sandman are going toe-to-toe. And Peter Parker is thinking if they only knew that it was puny Peter Parker here as Spider-Man, he'd get some respect. But he can't think about that right now. He's got to fight the Sandman and protect these kids. He fakes a punch, but the Sandman goes real hard, and then he grabs him by the back of the neck and does a little judo wrestling throw, throws him out the building. All the kids are like, yeah, you see that? Spider-Man is definitely the top G. I wonder where Peter Parker is, by the way. Gingerhead Flash says he must be hiding under a desk, little fraidy cat. The Sandman is doing everything he can to wallop Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is too fast. All his little tricks are not working. Spider-Man dodges left, dodges right, and he realizes he has to get the Sandman away from these kids, so he leads them into the gym where he webs them up, but the Sandman won't be webbed up. He just sands right through his webs. The battle is a stalemate where Sandman cannot really grab onto Spider-Man and Spider-Man can't hurt the Sandman. But the Sandman realizes that he can make parts of his body super hard, so he makes his head super hard. He headbutts Spider-Man once, twice. He tries it a third time, but Spider-Man ducks the third one, and the Sandman headbutts his own head into oblivion on a pole. The Sandman's particles are everywhere. Spider-Man thinks this battle is over, but he's mistaken. The Sandman pulls himself together and engulfs Spider-Man with his sand particles. Spider-Man gets himself into a ball. The Sandman thinks that he's beaten Spider-Man, but Spider-Man's plan is in full effect. He starts rolling himself down the stairs into the basement. The impact of Spider-Man and the Sandman hitting the basement floor causes the Sandman to release Spider-Man. Spider-Man pulls out a drill, and he thinks he's gonna drill the Sandman. Sandman turns into dust, but this was Spider-Man's plan all along. He needs the Sandman to be all particle-y. He picks up the Hoover and literally vacuums up the Sandman into the vacuum machine. This is how he defeats the Sandman. Vacuum cleaner, people. And now that Spider-Man has the Sandman locked up in the vacuum cleaner, he realizes he didn't get any darn pictures of the battle. So he gets his camera, sets it up, grabs a little dust, tosses it in the air, jumps through it so he can get some pictures of him battling the Sandman so he can make some cash for all his efforts. And outside the school, all the cops have surrounded the school. They got their Tommy guns. They think they're gonna surround the school and somehow capture the Sandman. J. Jonah Jameson shows up. He wants the answers. He wants to know if Spider-Man and the Sandman are colluding together. In an epic symbol of patriotism, Spider-Man stands in front of the American flag with the vacuum cleaner full of the Sandman, and in a superhero pose says, "I got him, people. The Sandman's in here. Take him away." And the cops are like, "Oh, great. Thanks a lot, Spider-Man." But J. Jonah Jameson says, "No, arrest him." Spider-Man's like, "What do I got to do to impress this guy? This guy's a jerk. All he wants to do is get me arrested, find out my secret identity. J. Jonah Jameson can go piss off." As Spider-Man hands over the Sandman inside of the vacuum container, he needs to get back in the school and change back into Peter Parker. Just as he gets back into his Peter Parker outfit, J. Jonah Jameson sneaks up behind him and says, "Hey, you got any pictures of that battle?" And Peter Parker's like, "Well, don't mind if I do have some pictures for you. Here, I didn't get time to develop them." And J. Jonah Jameson's like, "Don't worry, I'll take the development cost out of your budget because I'm a big, cheapskate." The cops are shaking their heads saying, "Where is Spider-Man? There's no sign of him." And J. Jonah Jameson says, "Forget about that. We got to bill Spider-Man for all the damage to the school. The Sandman ain't gonna pay for that. We gotta find out where all the Sandman's money is. And he bet Spider-Man has it." Peter Parker's on top of the world. He's got a bunch of cash. He's like, "Hey, Liz, you wanna go out? I got some cash. Let's go have a good time." But Liz ain't having none of that. Peter Parker's gonna try to Liz up, but he's like, "Nah, I like the gingers and ginger balls." Flash is like, "Go suck a rock, Peter Parker." And Peter Parker, he knows he's Spider-Man. He could take Flash any time of the day. He balls up his fist. He thinks he's gonna smack him around, but he has to come to the realization he can't smack Flash around. He can't let everyone know that he's super strong. They'll think that he's Spider-Man. So he lets Flash win, take the girl. He's got to go back home dateless, but at least he's got some cash. And now Peter Parker has to sit and watch Liz drive off with Flash. Flash is like, "Hey, Liz, you got any money for gas?" She's like, "I ain't got no money, Flash." And he's like, "You know the deal. Cash, grass, or gas? Which one is it gonna be?" She's like, "I guess it's gonna be smash." Peter Parker's like, "No, gotta go back and get my Jergens." And back at home, Peter Parker's having an identity crisis. He's saying, is he just wasting his time as Spider-Man out here in this goofy outfit trying to save people? You know, he ain't got time for everything. He got no respect as Peter Parker at school. He's getting no respect as Spider-Man. Sure, he's making a little cash, but is it even worth it? Well, we know it's worth it because issue number 5 is going to come out where we see Spider-Man battle the likes of Dr. Doom. Make sure to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and let me know what you think of this series thus far down in the comments below. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.